6 to go, inbound to Weatherspoon with 1. Weatherspoon puts up the 3. It's no good!
Unbelievable!
That's the ball game!
Unbelievable!
Fan the flames!
We are witnessing historic moment in Liberty basketball history.
Zeros on the clock. Fan the flames to the biggest victory in school history. Liberty!
Another 12 seed shocks the March Madness world.
The pull up from the logo. Boom!
Allen, he's got that look in his eye.
Chabelle now up to McGee, who will dunk it ahead of the pack.
Wow! There's that vertical leap we keep talking about.
Well, Naz, I had to play an opening video. I thought I'd find some clips where you were on the radio, because that might be some audio that people haven't heard. Naz, it's so great to have you on tonight.
Oh, man, thanks for having me on, guys. I always like joining you guys. You guys do such a great job with your show and for Liberty basketball. And so, yeah, those were fun to hear and relive. Of course, with the NCAA win, I broke all the rules of broadcasting as a color. Like, I was jumping all over Nick and I was supposed to lay out. I couldn't. I was absolutely again, the win was incredible for Liberty University, but my roots go back as a player, as an assistant coach, and then I was on the air, and I just lost all composure. I didn't know what I was just excited and just saying whatever popped into my head. What a great experience, but it's a blessing. I don't say that lightly, to be able to now, do broadcasting. And yeah, I love when I got a chance to jump on radio with Alan. I mean, he's a true top one in the field. I mean, he's just awesome. And I'm glad he's got Smitty now with him alongside. But yeah, I love being on there and talking about Liberty basketball, and hopefully the fans enjoy it.
Well, Naz, growing up in, North Carolina and hearing, those tournament games on the radio and stuff, there's not a lot of emotion when Carolina wins a tournament game or Duke wins a tournament game. So I think it makes it much, all that better, because you can just hear the emotion in your voice and just the excitement, knowing, your history with the program and with the university. So I love it, man.
Yeah, I just try to be, genuine and, again, and Matt, my partner there is just, he's just a top professional too. He just makes it so easy. But yeah, we just love talking about the Flames, and it's easy when, man, they're just great to talk about. Their play, their philosophy, Coach McKay and everything, the way they do it, the guys and the character and quality of guys that are in this program. It makes it so easy and a joy and a privilege to talk about.
Well, Naz, if we're fortunate enough to get back to the NCAA tournament, we're going to have to find a way to get you involved with the broadcast somehow. I'm going to start lobbying for it. Maybe you could be like the radio sideline guy, reports from the locker room, something.
I'll do anything. I'll report from outside the arena. Whatever Flames fans need, I'll do it. It'll be great. Yeah, getting back, and you guys are seeing it in the conference this year especially, man. There's so much parity, and on any given night, man, you better bring your A game, and it's a long way to go. But they're making those tournaments. We got spoiled there for a little while. They're tough to come by, but we got a good as chance as anybody on any year this year too.
We'll get to the ASUN here in just a second, but Naz, I wanted to ask you, felt like that Oral Roberts game after that was the turning point for the season for Liberty. Talk about what you've seen since then, this past weekend. What do you think has been the biggest reason for, I think, maybe one of the best 10-ish game stretches in Liberty basketball history?
Yeah, I think a couple things sort of came together, and maybe I don't know if it was the game itself, or maybe then we were about 10 games in, and just the timing of it. But I think the defense really came together, and I think that was just a part of, even though you have so many guys coming back, you add one or two new pieces to that, and that was Porter and Cleveland. So they individually, being brand new, have to learn that system. And then bringing two new guys into a system, you have a whole group that's learning how to play with those guys. And so it takes time, and especially early, Coach McKay, you're experimenting a little bit with lineups and things like that. And so it takes a little while to kind of get all that to gel. And then playing some of those tough teams, you got to learn the hard way and maybe a little trial by fire. So I think at that particular time that was coming together. And then also I think it was guys realizing that offensively, like we have to find the supporting cast and how they're going to score, and it can't all be Darius again. And I think that was sort of evolving too over those first several games. And coming out of that, I think they both just sort of hit their stride. And again, Darius had always been scoring and Peebles, but then I think coming out of that, you guys, like, you started to see other people score and contribute. And when both things started clicking, man, I agree. Like, they really have looked good this past stretch since then.
Yeah. Do you think that maybe that was a little bit of the downfall to the team last year? I mean, we lost to a transitioning team at home, but we didn't really have the point guard play like it seems like we have with Colin Porter, and maybe Darius was kind of filling in that role. And I know with McKay, anybody can play point, but Colin Porter just seems to have such a grasp on it, and he looks like a sophomore in high school. It's incredible. But I mean, do you think that's maybe the difference from year to year, and maybe this is a better team because of that point guard play?
I think so. I think some of that going down the stretch last year was, I mean, again, Darius had so much on him.
Yeah.
And, you get to that point, and I think even they were struggling with a few other sort of injuries, maybe a little off the record, and they were just giving everything they had. But I think it was just a little bit, maybe just a little too reliant on Darius down the stretch last year. But you're right, I agree. I think the combination of things, Colin Porter has been huge in that role, and taking that pressure off of Darius to have to bring it up. And not just that, like, and we've seen it. You guys have talked about it. It's not just like he's just taking the ball handling duties away. I mean, man, he is just getting people involved with assists, and now as himself a scorer. So he's made himself into another threat, all of which takes pressure off of Darius, and just running the flow of the offense, which other guys have gotten involved. So a lot of that. I think it's a much better, a more balanced offensive team, and I think that makes them definitely harder to play against.
Yeah, Darius will get double digits, but I don't know who's going to be the second guy or the third guy on any given night. It feels like it's a different guy almost every night, which is really cool, and it's a really fun brand of basketball, I think.
Yeah, it really is, and it's like, just looking over, like, everybody that steps on the court is doing something. Like, I mean, it's amazing. Like, I mean, how about the other night? Zay Warfield, 10 points. I mean, how huge is that? And there's a guy who's always given 100% and great defense and making deflections, and he's putting in 10 and, I mean, hit 2 threes. I mean, those are like little dividends and investments that are going to pay off down the road. The paint, I think, has been huge. Like, whether it's Blake or Shiloh, or on one Blake and Shiloh, I mean, it's like, when you counter that's another thing I just sort of have seen over the last couple of weeks that I think has really made Liberty tougher is you now have a counter to just shooting a lot of threes. And you've seen people go, all right, we've got to get out and run them off the 3 line. And it's like, that's really made the counter to that is get inside touches. And those guys have made the most of those touches, in a little different ways. I mean, Shiloh really great off the dribble and, spinning back to the rim, and Blake just kind of backing a guy down and banging into him and scoring. And both guys have kind of hit the offensive glass. So that's been another thing in the progress of this team, is really now having an inside presence that matches an already potent guard play and exterior presence.
Mm-hmm.
Well, go ahead, Will.
Well, I was just going to make a comment. It's not really a question, but they almost look like they're playing quicker as well. And I don't know how much of that is just chemistry and gelling at the right time. But a lot early on in the season, a lot of these turnovers were passes to somebody to who was supposed to be cutting, and they weren't cutting, or they weren't going the right way. They were zigging when they should have zagged. And now it looks like they kind of know what they're looking for. Guys are making catches on passes that they weren't earlier in the year. The ball movement looks a little bit crisper, and Kyle Rode is really, maybe should have asked him about this when he was on, but really confident in everything that he's doing. I mean, he's shooting three, he's going to the rim, he's backing down guys, in the paint. And so it's just a really fun time to be watching this team. But Naz, I was going to ask you the big question. What are you expecting the rest of the way? Do we continue to control games like this, or is there another step from this team that they need to take to continue dominance?
Well, I mean, I think by now, and you sort of led into that, like the chemistry right now is really good. They know each other's skills. They know what they can do. They know what they can't do, which is equally important. They know how they want to play. They have confidence in each other. Late in possessions, you don't see them panicking, or if the ball ends up with in someone else's hands, it's not Darius. Like, they know what to do with it, and they've had good success that way. So I don't know that they'll look to change anything or add. I just think they'll keep getting better and more clearly define, what they're doing. They know who they are and how they want to play. And there's going to be some, I think the biggest thing coming out of this past weekend was, here's another game, and there's been a couple now, but you learned how to win when Darius has a little bit of an off night. And you talk about making a run for another conference championship and having to play 3 games in a tournament. I mean, chances are one of those he may be a little off, or somebody does a good job of kind of disrupting him. And I think coming out of this weekend, and you have a lot of have confidence, and that team has showed we can weather that. Like, I think a big stretch was like in the UNF game. So Kyle picks up 2 quick fouls. And, like, if there's ever a guy that you could say, just stay out there with 2 and play smart, it'd be Kyle Rode, right? Like, he could come over and go, Coach, I'm okay. I'll fit. And Coach was like, no, sit down. And I mean, I think that showed huge trust in the other guys. And they went out there and got it to halftime and kept Kyle out of foul trouble. He comes in, he hits 2 threes right off the bat, and everybody was kind of off and running. But those little things that I think showed a lot of growth and confidence in each other and trust. I think that was kind of a big thing. So coming out of, great, 2 great wins, ended a couple win streaks and all that stuff. But I really think they come back home better and deeper, and ready to keep winning.
Yeah, and adding on to that, I mean, North Florida also shot 53% from 3. So finding a way to win on the road when the other team shoots well from 3 as well, I think that's another thing that's going to be really important come conference tourney, because sometimes teams just have it,
Yeah, you're right. They weathered that storm of the birds of Trey, where they were firing them. And I think it was good because, like, again, we were talking about offense, but they didn't let anybody blow up in those 2 games. And they certainly had guys that could have. Like, they held Kevion Nolan of Jacksonville to 9 points. And he's a guy that could just kind of go off. They had a nice, again, Blake and Shiloh's defense on the big kid, Marsh, was good. And then you go to UNF, and like last year we played them, and Hicklin had 31 a couple games prior to our game. Hendrickson at 35. I mean, they got guys that could have just blown up, and they kept them to 14 or something like that. So it's like the defense was there, and you're right, they're hitting shots and maybe a little higher percentage than we'd like to let our opponents get, but they didn't let anybody just sort of explode. And then again, on our end, we had a lot of guys contribute.
All right, let's take a look at the ASUN, Naz. Who stands out to you? I mean, Kennesaw at 7-1. they have just been so impressive. They had a huge week. They've got a pretty formidable schedule for them up until that game. Liberty only plays them once at Kennesaw about 5 games from now. So I think that game might have a big determination in the rest of the season. Anyone else stick out to you this ASUN season?
Yeah, I mean, Eastern Kentucky there. And again, the only difference, I think, and they're a little newer, so maybe that's why I sort of think this. Like Kennesaw, we saw that coming. Like when they're in the league and they were, I mean, just look back. Every year they've gotten better. We look at the players that Coach Abdur-Rahim was bringing in. You could see their improvement and, really good recruiter. We just sort of knew they were moving up. But Eastern Kentucky, I thought they were maybe a little bit, not to talk, but a little maybe flash in the pan. Because on certain nights they'd be really hot and they like to play fast, but they've really sustained it. And I think they're a legitimate team. But like you guys said earlier, there's a long way to go. I think there's going to be a lot of movement. I guess in that sense, it kind of helps, just like you can't look ahead because who knows what would happen. So I think that helps the Flames just focus on the next one Thursday night with Stetson. It's going to be tough.
Yeah, huge weekend for Liberty with Stetson and Florida Gulf Coast. They get through that. I mean, I think they're really setting themselves up well, for the end of the year, at least for that big game at Kennesaw coming up. Any other games that you're looking forward to that? You're looking forward to EKU coming to Liberty Arena?
Yeah, I think so. I think that'll be again, with them doing well and us doing well. I think they, again, all good teams, want a chance at revenge or that you come back to our place and let's do it again. I'm looking forward to that, and I know the guys want to get a little redemption there. But these next two are really going to be tough tests, and it's going to take we're at home, which is great, but I think it's going to take another nights where everybody's finding a way to contribute.
Yeah, Liberty's.
Naz is. Oh, I'm sorry, Nick.
I was just going to say, Liberty's favored by 11 in both of these games, but they are not like the comfortable 11-point favorites. Like there's some other games where Liberty's 11-point favorite. I feel pretty good, like that Jacksonville State game. I feel pretty good about that 11-point favorite. I don't know. These two, I feel like there's a trap one of these two at least.
Yeah, I agree, Nick. And you said, like, what was it when they went to Jacksonville?
At Jacksonville State, as Ken Pobb says, that's Liberty's favored by 11. I think I feel more comfortable about that than either one of these two home games.
Yeah. I meant this past weekend, you had said the line for.
Oh, it was 4.
4. Okay. Yeah.
Jacksonville State.
11 at home. Yeah, I'm with you. That doesn't. I just think they're going to be tighter than that. I hope they're 11, but
both
of those I think are going to be tough tests.
Naz, am I wrong in thinking this, that those two wins against Jacksonville and North Florida, as great as they look in the standings and keep us at the top, those were emotional, mental wins to go on that kind of road trip. And then you get Stetson and Florida Gulf Coast at home with the students back in full force, and you hope it's packed out. Team playing really good, feeling good about themselves. Is Austin Peay, is that a trap game, you think? I mean, are they looking ahead a little bit towards Lipscomb being a little bit more history there?
Yeah, it certainly could be. Especially, we get through, like sort of like you said, that's not just like a 2-game. That would be like a 4-game stretch of really tough teams, and hopefully we come out, with 2 more victories. And yeah, that would be not only with, them with Austin Peay being a little toward the bottom of the conference, but fatigue and maybe a little celebration. So yeah, they'll have to, coach will have them ready when they get there. But as we look ahead, certainly that has the makings of some of that. But yeah, like you said, they're not to diminish what they did down there. I mean, these great wins and things like that. Certainly, like that's part of that confidence. They went down there and had never beaten North Florida on that floor. That's big, and North Florida, they gave it a great shot, and again, I sort of said all along that Jacksonville team, they really pride themselves on their defense, and to go in there and beat them by 14. I mean, again, break the streak and all that, and beat them by 4. I mean, handily, that was a real dominating performance. So yes, great to get the W, but again, I think those things are huge moving forward as that team really believes in itself.
66 points at Jacksonville is deceiving how good of a performance that is with the style they play and all of that. Naz, 2 more quick things before we get you out of here. I just wanted to kind of look at our net breakdown this season. Any thoughts on any of the non-conference games? This is the first time we've had you in this year. Any of the games that have been played really stand out to you?
Yeah, I don't feel so bad about the Alabama loss. I mean, I think we all, Scar and us on our show, you guys, I think we all sort of came out of there going, oh, we thought the Liberty would be better. And no, they're beating everybody by 40. So I think that means we're right in there with some of those other, SEC teams that they've blown out. But the Bradley win was just a grindy, ugly, gutsy win. Bryant, I think, and I've not really looked at their record lately, but I know they're a good team, just a hard-nosed, quality opponent. So I know that was a good victory. Again, and we've all kind of talked about it. It's a one-bid league. So I guess you can't, you glean what you can from those games, win or lose. And, but I don't know that it really has any kind of impact moving forward. And you just got to do it in the ASUN tournament.
I wonder if Liberty had won that Southern Miss game, I wonder if they would almost be close to the at-large consideration. Because I've seen some people have them as a 12 seed, so that means you're in the conversation. If you're, that's one that, man, I'm sure. I mean, it was such a great performance in the second half, but it's one of those that like the EKU game. Hey, you didn't shoot good. It is what it is. That's maybe like the one game that maybe got away from that they wish they could probably have back. Yeah,
I agree, Nick. That's the first half of that was just that was like Revenge of the Body Snatchers or something. I don't know what team was out there for that first half. That was not us. But you're right. Great comeback in the second half, and that's probably the one that kind of if there was the one that got away, it was definitely that one.
All right, I know we've talked quite a bit about different players. Any other players that maybe we haven't mentioned that have really just kind of stood out to you, their play this year for Liberty?
Well, I think it's very interesting, and this is where you guys are incredible. But I always look at this, and I hope Joe Van Zandt's getting talked about enough, and I know you guys do, and we do, and I like people in general. I don't know that they know what he's really doing out there. If you just sort of are there and watching the game, people look at points and stuff like that. But, I highlighted him a couple games ago because I'm like, the guy is impacting the game as much as the people in the stat column. And it's great to see, 13 rebounds the other day. That was just awesome. I mean, he's out there playing tough D. I mentioned, they didn't let anybody explode for big points. I mean, a lot of that's him. Him and Zay are just, it's huge what they do defensively. And again, it's a team game, but I like seeing them up there and people recognize he had to be Blake. It's nice to see the last couple games. It's been sort of the unsung heroes, some of the guys that don't get all the publicity. Again, I mentioned Zay with his 10 points the other night. Blake's had some great games. Shiloh, a couple big ones. And so, we've been talking a lot about Kyle and Darius and Brody and Colin, but you're just really seeing this is a team where everybody can contribute in certain ways, is ready to give up minutes when coach thinks, hey, I don't need you as much. I mean, that kind of stuff, you cannot – there are teams all over the country right now that splintering and guys are mad and they're not getting enough minutes and they're not getting enough shots. And like I'm telling you, that stuff can just eat away at teams. And you got guys that are willing to take on whatever role coach needs them for, starting, coming off the bench, whatever minutes, and they step out there and they're doing something that's helping the team lead to wins. That's huge. So everybody up there, everybody on your chart, man.
Yeah, I love Van Zandt. I love his game. When I saw him in person, I was just blown away how incredible of a rebounder he is at 6'3". He gets up so high. I feel like Van Zandt, we're looking ahead here. I feel like he could be like that guy that takes like that Caleb Holmesley type leap. And once he maybe develops his 3-point shot a little bit better, which I know everyone talks about, he's got that in his arsenal, just hasn't been able to show it yet. I mean, do you kind of see him maybe potentially being an all conference type player, post Darius, maybe post Kyle, when it kind of becomes a little bit more of his team?
Yeah, and again, I think when Darius moves on, like everyone's going to have to, step up a little more, and certainly everybody works on your game and you improve, but taking on maybe a little more scoring. And here's the thing, like in a program where the three is so big and you have got, he doesn't need to be a 3-point shooter. I mean, you look at all these teams, they have what you call the slasher, and I think he'd be a great slasher where he's and we see him, he does a lot of great backdoor cuts and he'll get fed by Kyle or somebody. But even with the ball, like I could see him really, developing that thing where he can just catch it at 15 and just slash and kind of get it up on the rim or get to the free throw line. And so, yeah, like everybody will need to develop a little more. Doesn't mean he has to be the 3-point shooter, but yeah, I look for all these guys. I mean, again, that's part of the little, like we saw a little bit of that with Zay the last few games, scoring a little more. I think he's sort of expanding himself and put another 6 months under those guys, and not to look too far ahead, but yeah, I think you got a lot of pieces that will build and improve even for next year.
Since we're talking about comparisons with Van Zandt and Holmesley, let me ask you this one. I don't know if Tim Scarborough's watching tonight or listening. He might be traveling, but that dunk that Shiloh had, North Florida, put that guy on a poster. Is that one of the best dunks in Liberty history? Is that better than the Scar dunk? What do you think? Put you on the spot.
Scar's dunk was amazing just because we didn't know he could jump that high. But no, there's been some great ones, and somebody that has access to the archives would be something to really put a bunch together. We saw Holmesley with a few, Scotty James with some thunderous ones, but yeah, that one the other day, Shiloh, that was really impressive. That was one of the best. And then some of these alley-oops these guys are throwing, Porter's throwing them up, and that's been really fun to watch. That's not really been, characteristic, I guess, of our team. And so there's another little thing that is fun to watch, but they're really utilizing it. I mean, not for the showmanship of it. I mean, you get Darius coming in or Porter coming in and it just draws the defense. It draws everybody's attention. And then you got some of these high flyers you can just throw it up to and get it away from everybody's hands. And they've just found other ways to score like that. It's been really fun and tough to guard.
Well, Naz, we really appreciate you taking some time to come on and join us. You are the absolute best. We are so happy that you represent Liberty basketball, and keep up the great work and enjoy this ride the rest of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate you guys having me on. Appreciate everybody listening. And, I'll come back on maybe right before tournament time. You guys always have a great show for the tournament setup. So, again, all the best to you guys. Thanks.
Yeah,
Yep,
thanks.
thank you.
All right, we're going to have a quick word from Ironclad Coffee, then we'll come back with Richie Longshots in the Liberty line.
Virginia's best and most flames-friendly coffee comes from Ironclad Coffee Roasters. Ironclad roasts and serves up their beautiful beans at 2 cafes in Richmond, but you can enjoy their crafted roasted specialty beans from anywhere in the country by visiting www.ironcladcoffee.com. Place your order there and it'll be roasted to your order and shipped out directly to your doorstep.
Whenever you find yourself in the Commonwealth, pay them a visit at their 2 cafes in the Richmond area. Ironclad's owners, the O'Rourke family, are proud Flames Club members and are pleased to sponsor these podcasts by Sea Red. Hop on over to their website at www.ironcladcoffee.com now to get Virginia's best specialty coffee headed your way.